Hey, what's up everybody? BDR44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so I want to talk about the Lakers a little bit. I understand that JJ Redick is interested in using a 9-man rotation. And I say that with a question mark because I don't really know if that's what it's actually going to be. Because you seemingly phase out somebody that maybe wouldn't be conventional in regards to what you're looking at. I think we've kind of gotten used to Darvin Ham using everybody. And that's just not how the NBA often works. You got coaches that tend to shave it down to 7-man rotations like we always talk about in New York. And I just think that, you know, it's incumbent upon all coaches to develop the entire team. Man, a lot of times, as we often mention, if you only use a portion of guys a bunch of the time and don't use the other guys, then when somebody gets hurt, now you're relying upon people who haven't played as much to play a lot. And you send them out there, and a lot of times they don't look as good because they haven't had a chance to find their rhythm and work some consistency out for themselves. So I think that it works against you in the long run when injuries are so prevalent in the league that it would require you to use more of your talent in order to find yourself in the best possible position to withstand those injuries and have cohesive basketball. Practice is cool for sure, but nothing beats real-time play. And you don't want to find yourself relying upon people that you didn't trust to play when they haven't had reps. So that's something that I think is important for coaches to balance out. Yeah, you want to lean on the people you can trust, but you don't want to find yourself in a situation where you've left out guys that ultimately you're forced to rely upon. It's a nightmare, and it usually results in losses in the standings upon injury. So I think it's incumbent upon the GM to make sure that all the players on the team are at least usable, and then it's incumbent upon the coaches to play all of those guys a consistent amount of minutes so that you can get the most out of them and that nobody's actually lost when it's time for the number to be called. You want guys to stay ready, and that's a nice mindset motivator, but it doesn't actually translate to guys being ready if not for the reps that allow them to get ready. So I'm a believer that you use all your team all of the time. And if you got some guys that you just don't trust and you can't play, then you shave it down to 9. It's 10. Otherwise, you want to give everybody a healthy dose of minutes and have everybody working to the equation. And get everybody used to what it looks like to play game speed, what it looks like to go up against different levels of talent, and ultimately what it feels to be relied upon for any given time, simultaneously allowing yourself an opportunity to lessen the likelihood that players are getting worn out by the overusage. So it ultimately keeps your team healthy if you do that too. So that's just my philosophy. It may not always be feasible. We do have a couple guys that we probably don't want to play as much as others. That's obvious. And in the course of a game, you may not want to put certain players on the floor for sake of matchups, which makes all the sense in the world and throws my theory into a loop when that's the case. You don't want to sit down a guy who has a hot hand for the sake of minutes and all of that. So there's balance to be found and logic to be had in different categories of things to look at. I just think that this should be your goal, is to try to play everybody, and then from there, do what makes sense for a given night. It's a lot of games. 82 games is a lot of games. And so there are going to be nights where it doesn't make sense to use a 13-man rotation, 12-man rotation. It ain't going to make no sense to do that. I get that. But, you know, at the end of the day, if you want to start the season only using 9 players, so 9 out of 10 times, I believe you're going to find out that you're not better for that. I don't think you're going to be better for that. When it comes to trying to keep people healthy throughout the course of an 82-game schedule, I don't believe in that. I think you start off using everybody, see what you have for a good 15, 20 games. And then when you get to a point where you understand what you have, then you can start making those decisions that kind of shave away guys' minutes and opportunities. But everybody, with the exception of the 2 stars that we have, should be on pretty much on an even scale. I don't think anybody's that much better than anybody else on this team, to be honest with you. Other than Bron and AD are better than everybody. That's it. Everybody else, you either got to prove yourself or just proved yourself, and we have newfound respect for trusting you or whatever the case may be. But there ain't no superstars on this team outside of those 2. So guys should be fighting for minutes. Guys should be fighting for opportunities. And That's just my philosophy on things. So one of the names that could potentially be phased out of the rotation early on is Dalton Knecht. From a defensive standpoint, it may make sense to not play him as much. From an offensive standpoint, I don't think so. Not at all. Now, if he comes out and is not ready, wets the bed as a Laker, because you know how it is for guys when they start off with this team. Sometimes the lights are too bright for certain people. We don't know who's going to react poorly to that. You know what I mean? You just don't know. So if a guy proves himself to not be ready to be a Laker or ready to be in the NBA, that's something that shouldn't be too difficult to figure out. And even then, guys got to get used to that. So it's not like sitting them down forever is going to make it so that they're any more likely to be able to help themselves in those situations. But at the end of the day, I don't think I've seen a whole lot from Dalton Knecht that would make me think he's going to have that problem. Nothing yet at all. And so for me, I think he'll probably be a part of that 9-man rotation. But there's a chance he gets left out because he was forgotten about in regards to the names mentioned of guys who ultimately going to be a part of this thing 9-man in. So I think that was a mistake that was said to have been amended. Coach had just forgotten his name, but it wasn't like he didn't have him in mind. But I think we'd be making a pretty big mistake if we don't respect that Dalton Knecht may be our third best scorer on this entire team. I think that's a mistake. Anybody that's done real homework on him or watched him at Tennessee knows that he has a gift for putting the ball in the hoop a lot. And for a team that had its struggles here and there on both sides of the floor last year, who had issues with the small forward position and with you know, Torrey and Prince playing a good majority of the time, I think we have lucked out on getting a player this talented who's played 4 years in college, 5 years in college with the COVID year, to be ready. He should be ready to help us. It's not a red shirt freshman Jalen Hood-Schifino-like guy. No, this is somebody who's already about 23 years old. So I really don't see any real reason for a guy to not step in with his skill set and with his age being as it is. I don't see no reason why he wouldn't be part of the rotation until proven that he can't be, put it like that. In fact, if I'm being honest, I think he could start in some situations. I do think that. But again, defensively, if you have a defensive coach or something like that, probably not. But I think he's one of the more ready rookies in this draft, and one of the more talented rookies on the offensive end in the draft. So you got to take advantage of that. He can't be phased out of this thing before proving himself. In my opinion, I think that's a pretty big mistake on JJ part. And I respect JJ as a person who does homework. He knows Dalton Knecht's game. I'm sure he's watched countless footage on Dalton at this point. Probably watched footage of him when he was in college, just off the strength of his profession before coming to this club. So I don't doubt that JJ Redick knows Dalton's game much better than I do. But at the same time, in knowing what I know about Dalton and knowing what I know about the rest of this roster, he's definitely one of the top 9 on this team. I'm just being honest. He's definitely one of the top 9 people in this basketball squad. So I think he's going to, if he comes in with the type of confidence that I know he can display, and with the talent that he has from behind the arc and, you know, his ability to get off the floor, I think we're going to find out quickly that this is not somebody you keep off the floor for too long. Not on this roster. Nope, not at all. And so that's my assessment of things. But rookies, you know, coaches tend not to trust rookies. You don't know what type of coach we have here. He's a rookie himself, so it's a lot of things that he's going to do that he may find out he don't want to do, and it will change his mind. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So I think that's just to be expected. A lot have been said about the Lakers, particularly JJ Redick trying to give the Lakers the opposite of what they're used to in regards to Darvin Ham, kind of making up for what was deemed Darvin Ham's mistakes and ultimately giving us what we need in the great antithesis of that, which I have no problem with at all. I just think that it's a focus point that is something that is going to be an interesting balance to try to figure out, because you don't want to overcompensate for that focus and neglect other aspects of things. And given the fact that he's a rookie coach, it becomes a situation where is he enacting his intentions upon this team, or more so just trying to prove to the people who hired him that he cannot, be Darvin Ham, more or less. Can he be the opposite of Darvin Ham? And the opposite of Darvin Ham helps in some areas, but there were some things that Darvin did that weren't all that bad at all, including three-point shot diet, and an interior scoring diet. I thought that balance was very good for the unit that we had. You know what I mean? And of course, using everybody, which is something I agree with, even though I don't necessarily think that he did the greatest job of leaning into the talent that should have been leaned into. The overall philosophy of using more players, I think, is a good thing. So I wonder how much of this is JJ and how much of this is him trying not to be Darvin Ham, and how much of that is going to work into the benefit or the detriment of this roster. So that's just the type of thing where it's hard to tell. Of course, we got a basketball game, I believe, on the 4th. 2 days from now, I believe we play the Minnesota Timberwolves, but I did not check. I should have did that. But I know we have preseason coming up very soon. Standouts in regards to the summer league, but training camp right now have, from what I've understood it to be, the names that have been picked out of the hat have been Jalen Hood-Schifino and Max Christie. And that's very encouraging to me. I mean, those are young players. You kind of want to see them rise their stock as much as anybody on this roster. And people can start looking at them as players that you would otherwise want on their teams, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. It's very important to kind of talk up your young guys because they're the ones with the upside. They're the ones who the jury's still out on them. So if they're coming in looking like the standouts, that's fantastic. But if they happen to not be standouts and you tell me they're standouts, I wouldn't be surprised by that either. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, we want to talk up our young guys. I think, in speaking of it being a long season, JJ will figure who he wants to use more. Guys will step up in the presence of injury, of course. I think a guy that can end up having some real minutes in this league before the end of the season is probably Touré, the gentleman that we picked up from France, who has a brother coming into the league next year, one of the best guards in the draft next year. I really genuinely believe that he's going to find that this guy is one of his best energy rebounders and one of the best putback bigs that he's going to have on this roster this year. And with guys like Jackson Hayes kind of, being capped off at a certain level, Christian Wood, you expect for him to miss some games throughout the course of the season. I haven't heard much about Castleton. I don't know what his future holds. But I do think that Touré is probably going to be a guy who gets some minutes at the 5 and the 4. And Koloko, we don't know where he's at as far as his conditioning and where he's going to be slotted on this roster. But I just think Touré is going to earn minutes by way of energy. And though he may not be a part of the rotation very early, I think by the time March comes around, we would have seen plenty of him, and he probably will become a fan favorite if relied upon. I really believe that. You just can't supplement energy. And with us having such issues with the bigs, if he doesn't have any setbacks with his knee, which has been good over the last year and a half, I do believe that he's going to probably separate himself from some of the guys that he's packed in with right now. I just think he's probably going to rise to the top of that. Koloko, Castleton, Hayes, Wood. I got good reason to believe that Touré is going to rise himself above all them dudes. Good reason to believe that. So that's really what I think, man. I know that's like a very hot take given the fact that this guy's on a 2-way contract. But I just think he has tools that are going to prove very valuable when Anthony Davis sits down. He has certain things that he does on both sides of the floor and on the boards that I don't think those other guys are necessarily prone to do as much. Now, Koloko is an X factor because I really don't know this player very much. And Castleton's somebody who can also raise his game quite a bit. But Christian Wood on the knee with the age at this point, I don't expect the best from Christian Wood anymore, even though I liked him a lot next to AD. I don't expect the best from him, and I have seen him play bad defense in other situations. So I don't know how much he's going to be relied upon. if not 100% healthy and improving good. And Jackson Hayes, it's been said that Jackson Hayes actually played with J.J. Redick in New Orleans for about a year and a half. So they have a special bond that's already intact. If you're going to try to be the great antithesis to Darvin Ham, I think the most important thing is to not lean on your guys. Now, that's a hard thing to ask a coach not to do. But if you're trying to be the opposite of Darvin Ham, you got to understand that he took that to the max and had us playing guys that were not better for the team just because they were his homies from other situations. So what we don't want to see is him leaning into Jackson Hayes just because he knows Jackson Hayes a bit better than he knows everybody else, only to find out that Jackson's not the best player for the circumstance. And then we get flashbacks of Darvin Ham here. So I just think that a part of Darvin's problem was him clicking up with certain players or whatever and then isolating himself away from other guys who happen to be fan favorites in situations. Max Christie and Austin Reeves on the wrong side of Darvin Ham, when those people we really want to see a lot. So I just think that hurt Darvin a lot, not leaning into those guys with minutes and opportunities and faith in them. Big mistake. So I don't know if the center position can be assessed the same way necessarily, given the fact that we have so many guys at that position that are not, proven. But just the same, I would tell J.J. Redick, you want to give all those bigs opportunities. You do not want to lean into Jackson Hayes just because you know him, because you best believe we got a special eye for that. As a Laker fan base, we are looking for you to do stuff like that and probably going to hate it when you do. So that's a little bit of advice I would give J.J. Redick. Don't click up. Everybody should be given best opportunities. And how he handles the Bronny James situation is going to be something everybody's looking forward to criticizing or giving him praise for it. And Bron, too, to a point, it's going to be more difficult for Bron as Bronny's father. But you're going to be paying attention to how he handles other players versus how he handles Bronny. Both of those guys, JJ and Bron. Because at the end of the day, everybody's going to expect that Bronny's going to be getting special treatment and or a certain level of leeway given to him, or a certain level of applause provided to him for his good. You're going to be asked questions about him in regards to the media. They're going to force you into that space anyway. But within the locker room and within practice situations, you want to be balanced to give Bronny all that he deserves in the form of his development and his praise and his criticism. But you got to know that you are teammates / coaching, respectively, for the two of them, of the other guys as well. And so that's going to be something I think people are going to be paying attention to, including myself, to see how they find a way to balance that out. Bron, I'll give a pass to a degree, because how do you do that? I don't know how to do that. If I were in that situation, I don't know how I would handle that. So, but JJ, as the coach, he can't have a special way of treating Bronny James versus the way that he would treat maybe Max Christie or Jalen Hood-Schifino. It ain't going to work for him. It's not going to work. So I would tell him, I don't know how to balance that. I'm not going to sit up here and give him advice for that. I'm just going to tell him what I think we're looking at. And we're going to be looking to see how you treat those guys versus Bronny. It just is what it is. And good luck, because I don't think this is easy. But just the same, there's a balance. Again, I don't want to see Bronny being pushed aside purposefully so that it can appear as if, they're not favoring him, and then leaving Bronny, not get clapping for Bronny when he do something good. It's like I said, it's not an easy thing to balance, but you just want to try to treat everybody the way they deserve to be treated on the court, equally as teammates. And if everybody can come together and kind of work through the difficulty of that circumstance, I think it's a damn good chance that the chemistry will be better because of it. But how you balance that early on will determine how good the chemistry will be on the team, in my opinion. It just can't be favoritism or any imbalance in regards to that situation. And so that's where my head goes with that. I just think chemistry could be very sensitive this year with the presence of Bronny on the team. Very sensitive, more sensitive than probably most. You know what I mean? And it's going to be kind of, we're going to see how guys handle that. It's going to be tough when somebody doesn't agree with Bronny. You know what I mean? It's going to be tough if somebody wants to get into a scrum with Bronny. Maybe you have a hard foul. You know what I mean? In-house fighting has a different connotation when the biggest star in the world's son is on the team and the biggest star in the world happens to be one of the teammates. You understand what I'm saying? You can't really feel as comfortable treating him like your regular teammate. And that's part of the problem with this dynamic, potentially. And if they handle it very well, then it's not going to be much of a problem at all. But how to handle that is going to be difficult. Very difficult. And because you can just see it. I mean, teammates fall out and then get back in friendships and go through hard times. Why didn't you pass the ball here? Why didn't you rebound the ball here? And it's just going to be an environment for which people can be resentful more so than they need to, or say something to Bronny that speaks to the fact that his father is on the team and what he could have been given in life because of it. It's just a lot of stuff that's created that guys are going to have to try to avoid, tiptoe around, and I don't think it's really the greatest way to set up great chemistry, to be honest with you. And hopefully our guys maneuver around it very well, man. Everybody understands the game. Everybody in the situation is grown. Everybody understands their situation. So I think it's incumbent upon them to win this part of the battle with flying colors. And if they're able to, they'll be able to get through a lot of things chemistry-wise. You know what I mean? But this is one of the tough ones. Like, how do we treat Bronny James the same way that he deserves versus everybody else who we don't treat this way? Are we overcompensating? You know, that kind of thing. Is it like, I'm mad at Bronny, but I can't yell at Bronny, so I'm going to yell even harder at Max. That type of thing. It's just going to be hard to manage. It's going to be hard to manage. And with this being a very difficult trade environment, you may not be able to escape it. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. You get into it with this guy, now he got problems, may not be able to trade that guy because of the collective bargaining agreement. So it's going to be very important people understand what their role is. I think Bronny's, in his personality, naturally makes it very easy because he seems like a really humble and cool kid. He don't look like he ruffled feathers. He don't look like he stepped on people's toes. He's been through something in his personal life with the heart thing that I think will make him a little more humble than maybe most people in his situation as well. You know what I mean? He seemed like he's the right personality for this type of situation. He's raised the right way for this type of situation. Now, if he was like one of them evil rich kids, this would be impossible. One of those pompous dudes that think everything's supposed to come his way. And, you know, if this was that type of energy coming out of this kid, I promise you it would tear this team apart. But I've never seen anything like that from Bronny at all. And because of it, I think if anybody's going to be able to navigate this, it should be able to be him. He should be able to navigate this very well. So that's the part that is encouraging, is his personality. Bronny's personality is very encouraging, and hopefully he will continue to thrive in the sport that he loves very much, and I know he's willing to put in work. And hopefully he's able to get all the time in the G League necessary for him to cut down on anything that would otherwise make him look bad out there or make others mad at him on the floor. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. The more work he puts in, the more he's intent on listening to his coaches, the less likely he's going to have problems, I believe. There are always going to be circumstances in this environment that could arise from a jealous standpoint. I don't know that any of our guys would be jealous of him necessarily, but in certain situations, you're just going to find personalities. And even if Bronny's perfect in every way that people would appreciate, there's still going to be some people going to hate. And that's just what it is. But I don't know that we have any of those personalities and not on our basketball team. So hopefully we all are not like that. But, you know, everybody down there living their dream, man. You just want to see everybody get their opportunities and a fair shot at being considered a unit. And if they stay together, communicate, it cuts down on the likelihood of any of these worst case scenarios being even possible. Guys communicate. Guys stay close. You know what I mean? And a lot of that has to do with the coaching staff, keeping guys close. You know what I mean? How they manage personalities, how they treat everybody. I think that's going to have just as much to do with the Lakers' success as anything else, man. It's how well they navigate these sensitive waters. Early on, and in the dog days of March and February. Those are the two times. And I tell you this, and trade deadline time. Trade deadline time. And that's one thing that I wanted to talk about. I think, and salute the Kobe minute. I think when it comes down to it, when you find yourself in a situation where you're trying to manage personalities that don't know if they're going to be on the team going forward, when it comes to the Lakers, that's where coaches are going wrong a lot of the time. And it's time to keep the team together, and everybody's naming trade rumors. And the media stirring up the pot, claiming that LeBron James going to trade everybody. That's the part that really hurts the team from a chemistry standpoint. That's when it can either teeter toward the team reaching their highest peak, or it being necessary that you move certain people because they're going to be cancers in the locker room from here on out. JJ Redick is going to have his hands full. And that's going to be one of the key parts of keeping this job from year in to year out, is how you manage those key weeks when the trade deadline is popping and everybody talking about who's rumored to come to the Lakers and who's rumored to be traded from the Lakers. If you can get through that, you really did your job, JJ, because that's going to be the hardest part of this job, in my opinion, is navigating that 2-3 week period, keeping the team fresh, keeping them connected, keeping them, engaged, winning. That's going to be one of the most important aspects of his entire job. It's managing that. And I ain't heard nobody talk about that, but every year we go through this. Every year, no matter what year it is, Bron's got a team. It needs to get better. That's going to be the narrative in the media, whether it's true or not. Or if he's got a really good team, if they just make one more trade, they can get over the hump and win the championship. And because of it, it's going to be names that are going to be rumored to be traded. And that can create a lot of problems in this environment. So, yeah, that's going to be something JJ Redick is really going to have to he's going to have to win that battle, man. That's a hell of a battle, but he's going to have to win it if he wants to keep this position. So, yeah, man, these are things that I'm thinking about. I'm ready for basketball at this point. We're so close, yet so far. I mean, a couple days away from our first tip-off. It feels like this day going to go by super slow, and so will tomorrow because of it. But, just the same, we know what we're here to do. We're here to get better. This may not be a championship year. I don't think anybody has those type of expectations. But we're not going to cap off our potential because we understand the type of stars that we have on our team and what they're capable of doing when they are their best. 2 MVP candidates year in, year out, if they're healthy. So with that comes a certain hope that everybody else can just do their job, keep the chemistry strong, have good habits and practice, which is something that we've lacked on many years in a row. And I heard good things about the way this practice went. I've heard good things about how JJ Redick has attention to detail as a strength of his. He's always looking to do the same thing as it's been described, over and over again, repetition and structure. And I think that will help him a lot if he keeps that as his philosophy for how to handle practices and making sure that he holds guys accountable in practice, regardless of what their number is. I think it will make it so that his team performs as well as it needs to. And that was a big problem for us last year, is our in-game performances and our lack of preparation in a lot of situations. And lack of structure in a lot of situations left us looking inept to even win against some of the most, humble of teams. You know what I'm saying? Especially after we won the in-season tournament. And, I think a lot of attention was played to the in-season tournament. We were attentive on winning it that year. I don't know if we're as intent on defending it. But we wanted that first one. We got that first one. I think at the end of the day, as I said, when we hoisted up that in-season tournament championship, that's not the real thing. A lot of people were popping bottles. They were real excited about being a part of the in-season tournament championship glory. But that's not a real championship, bro. And I just felt like we lost our urgency and some of our attention span, I guess, was, put to the test after we won that in-season tournament. And I just understand that hurt us, a lot in the following weeks, and it affected seeding in the losses that we took following the win of the championship of the in-season tournament. So it's going to be incumbent upon the Lakers. A win for me is being in the top 6 at the end of the year. I'm tired of being in a one and done situation personally. As a fan of this franchise, I don't want to be in the play-in tournament anymore. I really don't, man. Every year we're in the play-in tournament. Play-in tournament's been going for what, 5 years? We've been in it 4 out of 5 times? Like, you're happy you're in a position to make the playoffs, and usually we win. I don't think we've lost the in-season tournament. The play-in tournament, certain circumstances. I don't think we found ourselves outside. But it gets to a point where it's like you don't want one game ever determining whether or not you make the playoffs, especially when you don't have a pick for your ineptitude that year, for which we don't. It would be going to Atlanta. So I don't want Atlanta to get a great player off of us this year. I don't want them to even get a damn good player off of us this year. And if we can keep that from being a fantastic pick for the Hawks, I think we've really gotten something good for ourselves in regards to just my personal goals for this unit. I really have no interest in giving Trae Young a great running mate in Atlanta. And Reece Shea and them dudes, they don't need nobody great off of us. And so if we can have a good season and keep ourselves out of the play-in tournament, there'll be no shot at them having a fantastic pick there. So that's really what it comes down to, man. Getting that top 6, have us a good year. Health will shift our expectations in that regard. But, we ain't in control of that. So we just want to stay as healthy and ready as possible and let the health take care of itself. But, yeah, man, that's where my head is in regards to this team, man. We talked a lot about Max Christie, looking forward to what he can do for us as a team. Obviously, he's important to what we're doing out there. And if anything, we find ourselves with him playing great perimeter defense and ultimately putting himself in the greatest position to score. I believe that he's going to be a hell of a player for our team. Hell of a player for our team. But it's very incumbent upon him to be patient with himself. Be patient with himself, because we're going to be asking him to do a lot, and he hasn't been given the opportunity to develop like he should have been last year. And I do believe that there will be some bumps in the road for young Max Christie. Some games that may not be his greatest, but I think if he gets the minutes, consistency, from what I understand, he's been earning the coach's trust early on. Hopefully he's very healthy all year long. If he can take care of the things that are within his control and not be hard on himself when he doesn't live up to the expectations of the role that he's been given, I think he'll develop out of those circumstances and be really good for us by the end of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a starter before the end of the season. Would not be surprised at all. Even through what I predict will be some struggles. I just think that if you keep on working with young players, especially ones who have the tools that he has, it's just a matter of time before they ultimately earn their way through to minutes. And, some guys it's right away, other guys it takes some time. But Max Christie's been taking care of his body for a while now. And so I just feel like with him in a position to need minutes and the Lakers being in a position to need him, I think this is a perfect storm for him to get that development going for himself finally after all these years. 2 years, really, it ain't been all these years, but 2 years of waiting on him and hoping that he would get those opportunities. So, big year for Max. Big year for Max. Everybody agrees with that. I think he's going to be the type of player that can really help us, probably on one of our most talented perimeter defenders. And with that being the case, you just love what you have there. And I want to see him get the minutes that are due to him. Darvin did a terrible job there. He really did. It's one of the main reasons why I was very supportive of us moving on from Darvin Ham, just because I thought he shied away from opportunities to develop Max Christie. Jalen Hood-Schifino to a point, but Jalen was mostly hurt a lot of the time, so it was what it was. But both of those guys need to get their minutes this year. I don't think Jalen is going to be a part of the early rotation or nothing like that, but injuries are natural, and he'll get his opportunities if that happens. So I look forward to Jalen as well this year. And I won't be surprised, as I've said many times, when Jalen succeeds and plays well, because we already know what he can do. It's just a matter of him being able to do it in our uniform. And he's a good player, man. He is a good player. I think people have lost sight of that because of the struggles. But he has some real pick and roll talent, and he can shoot the ball a little bit. And on the defensive side, he's a big enough guy to guard ones and twos. Not overly athletic, but the length is there, the weight 215 is there. You can build upon that, and he's like 6'5" at only 20 years old. So the chance of him continuing to grow a little bit is pretty solid. So I think we have a big guard, and you always love big guards. Think about a guy like who's out there? Who comes to mind? Sean Livingston when he was with the Warriors. I think if we develop Jalen Hood-Schifino, he could be that kind of piece for us. I think he can be that kind of piece for us. So I'm excited about him. Tempered expectations as it pertains to him out the gate because, it's going to be a development phase, a learning curve and all of that. He didn't get a chance last year. But just in a nutshell, I think there's reason to be optimistic that this is going to be a good player for us in the long run. We just got to be patient with him and not try to snuff out his confidence before he gets his opportunities or trade him away before we see what we have there. So, yeah, I'm big on my young guys, man. I am. I'm big on my young guys. I may not be as big on some of these other guys that we got. Some of our, Gabe Vincent, Cam Reddish, not overly big on those dudes. But the young dudes, I'm not mad at all. I want us to hold on to them, see what we got, develop them, and put forth, as much faith as they earn, much trust as they earn. And if they raise their level to where it needs to be, then we can really find ourselves in the best possible place to make trades that really get our team to where we want it to go. And we believe that we need to make trades to get where we want to go. We believe that. It just may not be possible right now. And so we run with what we have and get the most out of it. So that's what it is. Bron, AD, two of the best players in basketball, man. I rarely talk much about them because I don't think it really holds much weight to explain to you guys in year 22 to LeBron James great. I don't think that's a news flash, or I don't think that requires much thought. I think what does need to be said, though, is you just hope that he can stay healthy, because he has had some injury issues in this uniform. And with that history comes an understanding that we've coming off a really good year for his health, but that's just not been the consistency there. So hopefully there's nothing that has any setbacks involved in it with either one of our stars. We get a good year out of this thing from both of them. Knock on wood, God willing. And if we get that, our team should be stable around J.J. Redick's consistency, and ultimately the continuity of the other guys who've been on this team for about 3 years now, most of them. We talked about D'Angelo Russell, talked about Austin Reeves, talked about Rui Hachimura, those players that now have been with one another for a while at this point. There shouldn't be a whole lot of learning to do about one another, chemistry-wise, tendency-wise. They've been through wars and playoffs and stuff like that. They know one another. And so now it's just about taking the steps forward with the roles that they should be given in a new coaching situation, which can feel like you're on a different team. You know what I mean? I'm sure it's a big difference between being Lakers with Darvin coaching and being a part of the Lakers with Redick coaching. So I'd imagine it may feel like some of these guys have been traded somewhere else, depending on how much different things are. But I think that's part of why JJ wants to use the same starting lineup, is so that guys don't have so much of a change to adjust to with him coming in, because it's already going to be some natural changes with him being an entirely different person than Darvin. So I think that's where the logic comes in using the starting lineup, not necessarily because it's it may be the one that JJ thinks is the best lineup for his team, but maybe just to help guys, still feel like they're in the same place they were last year. Not such drastic improvements, or not improvements, but changes, I guess would be the word. So that's what I think is going on there. And if we have the right starting lineup later on, I think we'll be in the greatest position to defend a little better than maybe this unit will be able to do right out the gate. I was listening to Jason Timpf as he was on a special collab on Laker Nation today, or actually I think they taped that yesterday. But he was essentially saying something similar. The team needs to be more serious, I guess you can say, in general. He thought we were an unserious basketball club last year, and I agree. Without the structure necessary with Darvin Ham and some of his clueless rotation choices, going without a point guard and, sitting Austin and D'Lo. Some of those choices just left us looking kind of foolish in certain situations, kind of as if we didn't know what we were doing a lot of the time early on. And it ate away at our opportunities at winning games. It ate away at our opportunities of being the best team we could be, and with everything being so sensitive in the Western Conference, 2 or 3 losses can cost you an opportunity at having home court advantage or getting out of the play-in tournament. So that's what the Lakers' goal should be becoming a much more serious basketball team this year, so that they don't have to have themselves in situations that require for them to fight so hard near the end of the season in what should already be in place any damn way, fending off teams that are going to be fighting for their lives trying to make the playoffs. We want to have ourselves established in whatever way we're going to be by the time it gets to that point, if at all possible. And it may not be, because I do think the West is going to be a tight race, maybe even regardless. But if we take care of the wins we need to take care of and not give any away, doing things that are not wise, I think we'll be much happier with the results than last year's. Much happier. And so that's what I want to see. A more serious basketball team, a more disciplined basketball team, a well-practiced oiled machine. You know what I'm saying? Because if we're not, then we're going to look bad as we did last year, and we're going to feel just as frustrated with JJ as we felt with Darvin Ham. And this fan base is fickle, man. I can tell you that right now. Ask D'Lo how fickle we are. We'll tell you, we fickle, man. It's the truth. And not everybody in this fan base is like that, but as a collective mind, that's what it's going to feel like. One day we love you, one day we don't. One day we singing your praises, the next day we asking for you to be traded, only to be singing your praises again when you play well. It's just result-oriented, and, that is a hard thing to try to navigate if you're a professional trying to make this franchise happen. And the most difficult thing for them is trying to stay consistent in the presence of the fickle nature of the fan base. Consistency. And so I hope that JJ is able to navigate that. The young players, particularly as well, are able to navigate that. And it's going to be incumbent upon guys like Bron and AD, who know what time it is, to help those young guys, man. To help those young guys through that process, the new guys, and so et cetera. They're going to have to understand that Laker fans just want to see a good product and win. And if they don't see that, they want you gone. I mean, there's no two ways about it. It ain't that we hate you. It's just that we hold our franchise to such a standard that really doesn't allow for mistakes to be made without criticism or without people looking for you to move on. You know what I mean? We're not like a franchise that's going to boo you every day or cuss you out. We have our own decorum about ourselves, and I think we are better than some, but the frustration is real when the team isn't playing well. You best believe you're going to hear some boos. And when the team isn't playing well, you best believe you're going to go on some of them forums where people are talking Lakers and see a bunch of negativity about your name. It's just how we get down, man. And maybe it's unfortunate because it doesn't speak to a certain support that needs to be there a lot of times, but this is what you're walking into when you put on that purple and gold. We used to people who made the game look easy and still worked very hard even in that presence of doing that. So if you can't do that, then you're not going to be looked at as somebody who should be a part of this thing. And that's unfortunate because that is not a common trait. But the standards have been set very high for this franchise, and with LeBron James and AD still on the team, the standard is not coming down. So the role players on this roster are always considered scapegoats for the media. Sometimes it could be perceived that they're scapegoats for the front office. You know what I mean? But everybody's under that same pressure, and that's what it really comes down to. And that pressure is not easy to deal with, but when you win here, boy, do you feel like a champion. Do you feel like a king? You know what I mean? And so it's been unfortunate that Bron and AD weren't able to get that parade down Figueroa for the 2020 championship, so they may not have the full understanding of just how much gratitude can be displayed when you do win. But that's something that is really big in the Laker experience. Winning that championship and getting that Figueroa parade, that's what it's all about, man. And you understand why everybody loves being a winning Laker, a championship Laker. There's nothing greater in this league than winning a championship with this franchise. So, you know, it is what it is, man. Once a Laker, always a Laker, whether you're good or bad. And if we remember you for being bad, we'll still remember you. That's the point. So leave your mark. That's what I tell all the young players. Leave your mark on this team. Guys like Dalton Knecht, you're a Laker for life already, bro, before you even really get started. So leave your mark and understand that the mark for excellence here is championships and nothing short of it. Nothing short of it, man. We don't care for just playing tournaments, playing season tournament, whatever tournament, championship. That stuff don't mean nothing to us. We pretend like it do, and we will celebrate anything we get, but don't think that we're going to put you down a Laker lore for getting an in-season tournament championship. That's not what this is about. We collect real championships, not conference finals. We don't put up banners for none of that crap. Our standards, regardless of whether or not our front office is following that protocol, our standards is to only hang championship banners. And in-season tournament banners, a lot of us thought that was beneath us. Begging people to stay with our franchise, that whole Dwight Howard campaign, that was beneath us. And there's still many of us who feel that way, and it ain't gonna change, man. The standards are set in stone. So that's what I want to say, man. Let's get back to where we want to be. We're not confused about this unit being a championship level unit or not, but we do expect for them to handle themselves and carry themselves with an understanding of these expectations. And we're not here to play. We're not here to be unserious. It's one of the reasons why Russell Westbrook didn't work out here, is because he didn't care for winning championships as much as he cared for having fun. He even verbalized that. And that was a death blow to his Laker tenure. That's like the opposite of how we get down here. We don't move like that. You know what I mean? And maybe you hate us for it. Maybe you think we're just too much, or we're too spoiled and too entitled. I mean, hey, you're entitled to that opinion. But we're not changing our stripes. For better or for worse, we're not changing our stripes. The Lakers are about to NBA championships. You know what I mean? And carrying ourselves with the expectations that we can get it. Now, if the era we're in the current moment doesn't allow for us to build a championship team, we're not going to be delusional about it. But overall, what we're here to do is just win championships, if it is at all possible. Or if we have the team that we know should be able to win it. Anything less than winning it is just a failure, man. And so that's what we got to say. I don't want to see any drop off in our expectations going forward. I don't want to see us trying to dumb it down for those who are not really up for it. You know what I mean? If you want to do that in Los Angeles, there's a whole other team you can go to for that. Steve Ballmer is more than happy to pay people all types of money to be decent and not great enough. That's cool, bro. You know what I'm saying? That's cool. I have no problem with that. There's a million teams that ain't won a championship. That's cool, man. You got to be who you are. Live in your skin. But as for us, we collect championships here. So don't expect us to dumb it down for you. We will kick you out before we dumb it down. Believe that. And that goes for the guy at the top of the team, the owner, all the way down to the water boy, man. We will kick you out before we lower our standards as a fan base. We ain't gonna do it. So that's pretty much what I gotta say, man. Big up to all the Laker Nation. Let's hold ourselves with a great deal of class this year. But do not lower your standards for these folks or anybody. If they ain't intent on building something that can win a championship or multiple championships, then they're not for us, man. We'll settle for this moment we're in because we know that the commissioner has a goal of parity, and he's made it very difficult for us to build a team that can win. But we still got to try to figure out a way to defy that responsibly so that we can get back to what it is that we really do. And that's winning championships. My name is BDO44. I thank y'all for watching. Bye.